Alrighty, in this particular lab, we're going to be working on Lab04d, utilizing if statements. So I got a code template, your starter code, and we're going to look at some problems here. So the first one is this. We're going to create a program or the code to prompt the user to enter what is their favorite programming language. So if the programming language is Python, then we're going to basically create a print statement that displays this. Great, I like Python 2, programming is super fun. And then after that, have a print statement out of the block of the if to display thank you for your input of the programming language in between, and then have a great day. So let's take a look at the code here. And let's see, move this thing, zoom in just a little bit here. So right here, we're going to write our code of what we need to do. And this is just going to be a couple of lines. So let's go ahead and type that in. And the syntax would look something along this line. So we're going to prompt the user utilizing an input statement, and here I'm utilizing a variable called program lang. And then we're going to use a test condition that program language is equal to Python. And then we're going to create some additional print statements saying Python is great, I like Python 2, programming in Python is super fun. And then thank you for your input of programming language. And actually this is going to be outside of the loop. So our if statement is going to be executing this block of code if the programming language is typed into Python. Otherwise, it's going to print out a general statement of this. So let's go ahead and run the code and take a look to see what's going on with that. So I'm going to run it, move this over to the other side here. And for program number 1 here, what is your favorite programming language? And I'm going to type in, well, let's type in actually Python. Now, one thing to keep an eye on, and this is, I know it's mediocre or kind of nitpicking on certain things, but notice where the cursor is right now, waiting for input. Really, we should have basically a space in between there so it's not running in after that. So what we're going to do then is we're going to modify our code, and right here we're going to add a little space in between so we're not right at the ending there. So next time when we run the code, it will look better. And see, what is your programming language? And let me say that it is, well, let's say it's Python. Let's say it's Python. So we get the output. So when I typed in Python, it executed everything within the if statement here because that's what it was designed to do. So let me clear the code and we'll run it again, and this time we'll enter something else. Oh, see, really much better looking. We're waiting for the prompt there. So let's say it's Java, and it bypassed everything. Thank you for your input of Java. Have a great day. Cool. Now, we never know exactly how the user is going to enter the input. So let's clear the screen and run it again. And this time I'm going to type in Python with a capital P. And you notice what happened. Thank you for your input of Python. Have a great day. It ended up bypassing everything that we expected to print. Well, and there's a reason why it did that. Because if we look at the input statement, the input statement is grabbing the programming language. From there, it's testing if the programming language, and this is in lowercase. So what we're going to do then is for problem number 2, we're going to make a modification and fix that. So we're going to copy and paste this code for problem 2. And we're going to update this to include, right, if someone types in with capital letters. So in this particular case, we need to make a modification to this statement here. And the way that's going to look is something along the lines of this. So we'll type in a if statement, if programming language is Python or programming languages to uppercase Python, and make sure that this is indented here and fix that. So now when we run the code, it doesn't matter if it's going to be lowercase p or uppercase p, it should all work. So let's go ahead and see how the better code looks like. So let me clear the screen here, rerun the code. So we'll type in uppercase Python. So the first statement here, it did what it was supposed to do. We'll type in for our second problem, uppercase Python. If I typed it correctly, there you go, great. Python, I like Python too, it's super fun. But let's take a look at this scenario. Let's clear the screen and let's run it again. So we'll type in, actually, how about if someone types in Python in all uppercase? So Python in all uppercase. So now, even though they typed in the word Python, it negated to print out the statements that we thought it would. So let's take a look at basically problem number 3, making the code even better, or should I say great code. So going back to our code here, let's make a copy of this. And you notice it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code. And in this particular case, if we look back at the guide here for problem number 3, what we're going to do then is we're going to append a dot lower to the variable that we're using. So in my case, I'm utilizing a variable called program_lang. The syntax will look something along like this. So that means that we come back to our syntax here, and we're going to make this even better. So I'm going to write the code, and this is how the code would look in this particular case. So now we have our if statement, and what we're doing, let me bring this back up here so it's all right. So in this particular case, what's happening, when the user types in the input, this statement, if program dot lower is equal to Python. So now we have one way to execute it. It's taking the input here and automatically making it in all lowercase. So let's go ahead and test the code and see how this works. So I'll run the code here. Actually, let me clear the screen and then run the code. So again, we type in, I don't know if you type in correctly, Python, right there, Python, and then finally, if I type in Python here, notice the output. So what's happening now is for problem number 3, it's taking our input. It doesn't matter if it was all uppercase. And again, this syntax right there is taking that input and making it everything in lowercase. So we have only one value to compare it with. Oh, pretty easy. So that is for the if statement for this particular lab.